Hi everybody, this is Oksana and I want to start off this video by saying a huge thank you to Grande.com for sponsoring this video. I absolutely love their wire as well as lots of other supplies that I get from them, and so I'm just really grateful that they have sponsored some of my videos and I really appreciate it. And in this tutorial I'm going to be making a really fun swirly pendant. I've done something similar in the past with round wire and I'll leave you a link to that if you want to see, but I wanted to do it with square wire instead because square wire can be twisted, as you can see here, for this fun twisted effect. It really adds some nice texture, which will be even more apparent once the pendant is oxidized, which I will show you what it looks like oxidized. Here it is after it's been oxidized. I think it really helps bring out the texture of that twisted wire and just the swirls in general. So if you want to see how I made this pendant, just keep watching. So I'm going to be using 2 pieces of 20 gauge square copper wire. And they're really long pieces because when you make swirls, it usually uses up a lot of wire to make those swirls. And so they are 21 inches long. So they are square dead soft copper from Grande.com. This is the website. These are the tools that I'm going to be using. You only need 2 tools for this design: wire cutters and pliers, just normal pliers, not round nose pliers. And these are Swanston brand. They're from Grande.com, and you can get a kit that has a few additional tools, or you can just get them individually. So these are the 2 that we'll be using. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the ends of my 2 wires together. And then by doing that, what I've done is I've determined the middle. I kind of folded the wire in half, and this is the middle. So once you know the middle, this is where we're going to make our bail. So for the bail, I'm going to use half round wire. This is 24 gauge half round wire. It's also from Grande.com, also dead soft copper. So I'm just going to grab the tail end of it here. I'm going to leave it connected to my spool, and you need a nice long end, maybe like 3 or 4 inches, because we're going to be using that end later as well. So we're going to start by wrapping it around a few times to get it connected, but then we want to leave ourselves this nice long end to use for later. And to make the rest of the bail, I'm just going to flip it over. So here's my little wire end here that I'm saving for later, and here's my wire that is connected to the spool. And so to wrap it around, what I'm going to do is just guide it with my hand that has like the tarnish that's rubbed all over my fingers from the wire. And I'm just guiding it, and I'm turning the 2 wires, and that way I can ensure that this half round wire lays down nicely with the flat side down, the half rounded side up. If it starts to twist, I can just see that and untwist it. So that's why you go slow and careful. And if you're having trouble with this, if you don't like this turning technique, turning and guiding, you want to be able to just wrap it around, just cut yourself a really long piece of this wire, and then you can use it that way. But if you don't cut it and it's connected to the spool, which is what I tend to do because you never really know how much wire is going to get used for this, then you have to do this turning method. So I'm going to go for a little bit. We want this to be long enough so that we can bend it into the shape of a bail, and this can be our bail. Oh, so it's starting to twist, and I'm just going to untwist it and just guide it along. And then I'm going to wash my hands. This wire must have had some tarnish on it, and I was trying to like straighten it. It all rubbed off on my fingers. So a little bit longer. I'm just going to finish off camera. I'm just going to do a little bit longer, and then I'll measure it for you guys. All right, so this should be long enough, so I'm gonna cut it nice and long. Leave myself a few inches here. So we have tail end here of a few inches long, and then tail end here. So now I'm just gonna press down on this. And then don't worry, I haven't forgotten, I will measure it for you as well. But again, yours doesn't have to be exactly like this. You can make a smaller or larger bail. So it is just a little bit less than an inch. You can see there. And now I'm gonna bend it. Start forming my bail. So what you wanna do with these wires is you wanna separate them out and just bend them like this on each end. Mine are so long, they're just like hitting everything around if you hear all those noises. So just bending these like this, and you can use your pliers to help you, or you can just do it all by hand, but we're just trying to make this into a bail shape and bring all of these wires together like this. So you can press the wires together. And an end, you want something like this. And then here's the side of it. So now we can finally use these little wire ends. So what you want to do with them is you just want to wrap it around to connect the wires so that our bail doesn't just come open. So you want to do this for a bit, maybe somewhere between 6 and 8 wraps. Just have a nice little length there so it holds your bail together. Now we're going to trim it, and the little wire end is just here on the bottom underneath. And now I'm just going to press on it. So here's the wire end under here. And now I'm just going to straighten it a little bit. So that's one side, and now we're going to do the other side. So the same thing, just need to connect those two wires together. All right, that should be good. So we're trimming the wire end here on the bottom. And then when we press down on it, we're just going to press down, and the little wire end is there. And again, I'm just going to straighten that out. So it looks like this. So my stone, I just realized I haven't shown you my stone yet. It is a oval Labradorite. And it is less than 1.5 inches, somewhere between, no, just a little bit more than 1.25 inches, just a smidge more. And if we're measuring it in millimeters, then it's like 33 millimeters or something, but yours doesn't have to be identical to mine in size, just anywhere in that vicinity. If yours is smaller, you could size down to 21 gauge wire as well. So what I'm going to do is start to kind of curve this a little bit because we want it to sit on top of our stone. You can use also a round stone if you want, but I find that oval and round are the easiest shapes to use for this design. So we're kind of shaping this little frame around our stone, but also trying to hold it in place, which is very difficult. It wants to just slide all around. All right, so now we're gonna separate these wires a little bit. And now when we put our stone in, we're gonna push the wires so that they are smaller than the stone. So what I'm doing is just kind of pushing on my wires here, especially the ones in the back. The front is going to have the swirls to hold it, but the back needs to be held in by the wires. See how they're going onto my stone here? This is what we want. And then to a lesser extent, here on the front, just kind of push it onto the edges of your stone. So then what we're gonna do, you can even just kind of put like a little curve in it. So it's just kind of curving onto your stone edge there. But then you want it to go here to the middle of the side. So we're gonna do one side at a time. So same thing with this one. I'm just kind of curving it up. And it's trapping the little side of my stone, and then it's here in the middle. And what you want to do is you just want to crisscross these wires, and you want to twist it. You want to do a complete twist, so all the way around, so that the wires are locked. And then you're going to push that twist down right onto your stone like this. And now we're going to do that on this other side as well. So let's give it just a little curve. Let's have it kind of hold the edge of our wire here, and then we're going to crisscross these wires, and we're going to twist all the way around. And then we're going to push that twist down. All right, let me flip this upside down. And then we're just pressing everything against the stone. So here's what it looks like. The wires are on the edges, but they're not super far on the stone, just a little bit here. And on the back as well. And what we're gonna do is put two of these wires, just kind of have them go like this on the edge of the stone here. And then we're just going to hold them and kind of curve them up a little bit like that. But we're not going to twist them together. And then these other wires, we're going to also try to trap the little bottom edge of our stone with them. But we're going to put them on the outside. So these two wires are going on the outside, and these are on the inside. Okay, so like this. And then we're going to take this backmost wire, and we're going to bring it forward, which is going to wrap it around these two wires, and then we're going to bring it back and forward again. And now with our pliers, we're going to reinforce this little wrap that has occurred due to us doing that. Whoops, let me try to get in there. All right. So I'm just going to press down on that, and then you can see it's been wrapped around these two wires here. And now this frontmost wire, we're just going to bend it to the back and then to the front again. All right, so you can also press down on that. But the end result of all of that is that our wires are both together now, and they're here in the front. So now our stone is going to stay put a little more. Just going to press down on this and press down on that. All right, and then here on the back, you can sharpen up these little curves by putting a little bend in them with your pliers, and then just kind of pushing it up against the stone as well, just to really trap that stone in the back here, just like that. All right, so here on the bottom we have these 2 wires here, and then we have these 2 wires as well. So these 2 wires, we're just going to push them forward, just towards yourself. And what we're going to do now, this is optional, but it just makes a really fun effect, is twisting the square wire. So if you want to twist the square wire, you just choose a wire that you want to do that with. It doesn't really matter which one. And then you just hold the end of the wire here with your pliers. Just hold that still. Don't move that hand. And then we're just going to turn this whole piece. And then as you turn it, it's going to take a while because this wire is quite long. But as you turn, you can see the little twisted effect starting to take place. So you just want to, you want to do this for a little bit until you achieve the level of twist that you want. So you can either leave it like this or keep twisting it more for a tighter looking twist. And we're going to do that with one of these wires and then one of these wires as well. So if you want to do that and have a twisted effect, then go ahead and do that. I'm just going to finish real quick off camera and then I'll be right back. Alright, so now it's going to be the really fun part, making the swirl. So I have these 2 wires here and these 2 wires as well. One of each of them is twisted, so you can start whatever side you prefer, but I'm just going to grab these. And what I'm going to do is keep them together, keep them side by side. Right now there's a little gap between them, but they'll get closer together as we swirl, and I am just making a swirl with the both of them like this. Just like that. And then this one I would swirl in this direction also, because I just kind of want to cover up this area of where all the wires are getting connected together. So I would just swirl like this in this direction to cover that up, and then I would swirl in the other direction, which I'm going to do on the other side as well. And you can make your swirls bigger or smaller. You can vary the size of your swirls and make, you know, some big, some small, maybe alternate. So here's what that looks like so far. I guess I'm doing this side first, even though I did one swirl here. So I'm just tightening up that swirl, and now I'm gonna swirl this other direction. And then after this, I'm gonna secure my swirls down. All right, so what you will notice after you've made a few swirls is that they're not connected to anything and they can lift up from the stone. So what we want to do is connect them right here on this little edge where we made the twist. What normally happens when you make this twist here, it leaves a little bit of a gap. And even though it was a huge gap and I pressed down on it with my pliers, there's still going to be at least a little gap left there. And so what you want to do is just go ahead and lift the swirls, take these little wire ends, and then tuck them through that gap. And then just very slowly and gently, a little bit at a time. You don't want to yank on these because it's going to misshape everything. But just a little bit at a time, we're going to push those 2 wires through that little gap. Kind of wiggle them through until we get them all completely through, like this. I'm just gonna run these through my fingers. You can see they have some bends in them, but that's okay because we're gonna be swirling them anyway, so the bends will get covered up. So I'm just pushing on my swirls, and there we go. It all went through the gap. Here they are coming on the other side. You can see them moving. So I'm just pushing on the swirl, taking these, and then bringing them to the front. Okay, so by doing that, we've wrapped them around this little corner, we've connected them. Now these swirls, they don't lift up at all. They've been connected. And now we're gonna take these wires and we're going to continue to swirl them so that it looks like the swirls are just continuing along, working their way up. So I had just, you know, pressed those wires forward here and then just continued to swirl them. Like this, and now we're gonna go in the other direction. And now we're gonna swirl again in this direction. So just trying to reach the top here. I think after this, I just need one more swirl to reach the top. And I'm pressing on these and I'm keeping the wire side by side, as you can see. You can not do that and have the wires, they'll be like one on top of each other kind of. That's just another look that you can achieve if you like that better. All right, so it looks like we are almost at this top portion. So I'm just gonna make one more swirl, which gets me to here. And then, so this moves, we're gonna have to connect it, but before I connect it, I'm just gonna look so that it's laying nicely here on the edge. And then I'm gonna take it, hold the swirls as I bend the wire to the back, and then I bend it all the way around the bail, like this. And now we can trim and tuck those wire ends away. So we're just gonna trim. So that was actually like the perfect amount of wire. I have a tiny bit left over, but not much. So if your stone is bigger than mine, I would recommend getting little longer pieces of wire. So I'm taking the wire ends and I'm tucking them inwards into the bail this way. And then I'm just gonna press down to tuck my wire ends away into the bail. All right, so now this side is done and the wire ends are finished and tucked away, so we can work on this side. We just did the one little loop here, so I'm just gonna continue. Now I'm gonna swirl in this direction. Now I'm going to make one more small swirl because I'm almost there at that edge. I think if I just keep this swirl small, there we go. So that reaches the edge perfectly. So I'm going to lift that up, take these two wire ends, tuck them through that little gap. And again, just very carefully, a little bit at a time, feed them through there. Don't pull on them hard or it might mess up your swirls. And just like that, we'll get it all through there. Almost. And there we go. So now we're going to take these wires and bend them forward. They do have like a little kink in them like that. I usually just like to fix that with my fingers. And now we're just gonna make another little swirl here and work our way up. Trying to get here to the bail. So all I'm doing is just swirling in one direction and then in the other. And just checking, probably one more swirl is needed there. All right, let's see. So that reaches the top. This is where I kind of play it by ear. If there was a lot more space, I might have done another swirl, but this is really like, it connects to it and there's just the tiniest bit of space there, and I'm also running out of wire. Somehow one of my wires is longer than the other here. I don't know why. So I think what I'm gonna do is just feed this wire through there. But if your wires were a bit longer and you had space to do another swirl, you can kind of swirl and also wrap around like we did here. So I'm just taking this wire that's longer, feeding it through, kind of just pressing down on my swirls there. And I do want this little wire to go through as well. So I'm just gonna curve it so that it kind of follows that longer wire. And then let's see if I can get it on this side. Oh, there it is. It is nice and short, but I can grab that little wire end. So I'm just gonna pull that up and then just kind of turn it this way so I can push down on that wire end so it's not sticking up. Just kind of a way of getting rid of that little wire end. There we go, just push it in here. So here's what that looks like. And we just have this one wire that's a little bit on the longer side. So you can just tuck that away, or you can bring it here on the front. And I'm thinking maybe I could add just a little loop with it. You can also put some beads on it. That's always fun. I love adding beads on any of these really, or just you can go back and add beads now using the half round wire to attach. All right. So I've made just a little single wire swirl to fill in that little gap. Again, this is one of those things you kind of play by ear depending on your pendant. And now I'm going to take this little wire end, I'm just lifting this whole thing up, and I'm just going to feed it through here underneath this other swirl. Let's see if I can get it in there. There we go. So just underneath these two wires here. And then through the bail so that it's coming here. On the other side, then I'm going to look at my swirl, kind of adjust as needed. That should be good. Now I just need to hide this wire end, so I'm grabbing it I'm just turning it down so that the tip of the wire end is going down into these wires here, so you won't be able to feel it. And now I'm just going to press that. Press down on it. Alright, so now I'm just checking the wire end is tucked downwards and I don't feel it with my finger there. And if I look now, I have my swirls going all around and that single little swirl up there. And it is all finished. Here's the back. So here is the finished pendant. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!